Whew, had to clear my head for a long time this morning. I woke up at 4 a.m. and then I guess I've just been puttering around for 2 hours. Took a walk around the street, put up some of my patented ZYZ graffiti. You know what I should do, honestly, is I should make an iCloud profile that's just for the show, that I don't put anything on it, that I'm not happy like publicizing and so forth. I could do a lot more if I didn't have to worry about uh, all my shameful and illegal acts just popping up every time that I alt tabbed into something. All right. So we begun again. I forget how many days straight I've been doing. I think I started on the 1st of May. So we've just been doing the stream every day for 11 or so days straight. And I'm going to try to continue for the entire month of May. I'm doing okay on the no drinking pledge, but Lord, that diet is not working out for the kid. It seems like every time somebody buys me lunch, which happens a lot, not out of any intrinsic value in me, just like the work that I do. Sometimes I get lunch. I'll get lunch, and then the diet goes to shit for the entire day. I'm like, oh, maybe I'll get a milkshake or bubble tea or some nonsense like that. And next thing I know, I'm eating a burrito, and out of ketosis and alas. So I really just need to get more exercise. What happened yesterday? Let's see. Important in my life is that I had to chase a thief down a set of stairs. This guy in Times Square had ripped off somebody's bag, and I saw him like shoving an old lady aside and running down the stairs, and police coming after him. So I ran down the stairs, and he was like trying to blend into the crowd, and I was like, "He went that way, officer." No, I just pointed like, "That's the guy." And there were two cops there. They're like, "Huh?" And they like saw the guy like, "Fuck." And so he got scooped up, and presumably, hopefully, whatever fucking purse, or it looked like a gym bag that he had stolen. Um, but hopefully, whatever he stole made it back to the person that he snatched it from. But I didn't hang around to find out because I had a train to catch. But yeah, this shit happens all the time in New York. But yeah, going down the stairs, I have a hurt knee from when a guy ran me over, and the knee was just like, I'm not liking any part of what's going on. And the whole time, the whole day afterward, I'm like walking around. I'm like, is this knee gonna like swell up on me? Is it gonna do whatever? Um, but yeah, at some point, I might have to get surgery to fix that guy. Anyhow, it's just random boring shit set into the void here. We did a bunch of good work on Rapasaurus yesterday, and I believe we're going to try and do some today. The main thing that we did was we made a chart of all the books in book two. You can see I started on book one here. But yeah, these are all the things that are there. So I think book three is going to be about 17 chapters. It's funny how, like, a novel is really, I mean, when you start trying to work something out, you can just break it down into little individual chunks and try to make some sense of this horse shit, which is what I'm trying to do here. It's such a big thing to have like a 900 page novel and to want it to have like a, I'm not trying to have a tight plot, but I am trying to have continual flow going through here. And thus far, I do not have it though. I think this is all chat from yesterday. Hold on. Let me see if it's even active. Let's see. All right, so let me see. Okay, yeah, I can see me typing penis at the top of it. Okay, so the chat is coming. So I will take a gander at it, but yeah, I just left OBS open all the live long day. Well, I'm by the way, like I save all these recordings for some reason. It really is some kind of cluster C nonsense that I'm. I gotta stop thinking of everything in like clusters and whatever. But I do save all these recordings for some reason, and that hard drive is filling up. Oh, eventually, I'll just have like terabytes and terabytes of me staring into the dark in the morning, struggling to write a novel. I don't know who that'll ever be interesting to, but I don't trust YouTube to just save all. Well, what I don't trust is YouTube not to fucking ban me, or some copyright strike, like somebody invented the concept of being a nerd, and like later my entire life is copyright struck. Any of that could happen at any point. Yes, hello, welcome to the chat, Soul Viewer. uh, All right, so where am I at right here? Where are the Revel chapters? All right, so 3-9 and 3-5. And I guess that there are 2 chapters prior to 3-9 and 3-5. So what I want is I had like cut out a thread of seduction here, and I want to put it back in, because that's ultimately like my vision of the story is this one character falling apart, and it wasn't a believable arc. I hadn't done the work to get to it, and I'm like realizing like more and more, this character Revel V. Ramos is the first character introduced in this book. Right, you start the book like looking through his eyes. He's the initial POV, so he's a much more main character than I made him. I just made him kind of like the punching bag for the entire story. I've called every character in this. He was kind of like the butt of all the jokes throughout the story. Just kind of like this posh asshole who, everything bad that happened to him, the reader was supposed to be like, yeah, get him. But ultimately, that's not very. It's not an interesting character. There's like no nuance or whatever. So in this rewrite, we're trying to make him and some of his counterpart characters into more believable and interesting forces throughout the story. Everything just like a little bit more rounded. Fish, definitely, we've gotten like deeper into his insights and what's happening there. Rigel, I want to say, yeah, it has like too much. Rigel has like Rigel and El Shalah, who are like our young characters there. They suffer like a little bit too much from like golden boy syndrome, where they don't have clearly defined flaws that I can exploit later in the story. And that's something that I really need to work on, which is because if you think about the children that you know, their flaws are like front and center. It's not hard to see a child and be like, oh, this kid's just a piece of shit, like they haven't developed the things that will make them good later on. They're dumb, they're greedy, selfish, whatever. All the things that make a human like valuable to you. Good sense of humor and all this. Um, like somebody who teenagers, they don't have any of that. they're just they're just awful. These characters are written to like, without any significant flaws there. And as I'm like lashing out, you only have so much time and so much bandwidth in a story. So it's not like I can have every character be like a perfectly rounded character with like flaws and desires and all this critical stuff. But it is that I would like to have more rounding in some of the characters, just so that the ones where they're like clearly transparent aren't so clearly transparent. And just overall, it will be a stronger work. All right, so let's get back to, oh Lord, what was I fuck? I don't know why AnyDesk decided. I'm just gonna have to uninstall AnyDesk from this machine, because it's just annoying me. It's not on my list of startup apps, but it's still popping up, which I should know how to fix immediately. Um, but I've just been too lazy to like look into it or whatever. I should know just off the top of my head, like this is how you fix that, but I don't know that. So I put up, if you follow my Instagram, I put up a watermelon, like a 3-dimensional watermelon street graffiti. Oh, it's the Imperianaut. Man, it's been a little bit. Holy, how did you even find this broadcast? Let me see. Thanks for your continual. Wait, I think that's just SuchWow, right? That's your username on, or is it somebody else? I shout you out every week on the Patreon. Thanks, but I may not actually know who you are. But thank you for tuning in early in the morning. All right, let's see. Am I at a spot where I can work on writing this chapter? I swear I have like stage fright for actually writing on stream. I'm gonna give the idea of doing the rewrite on stream another 7 days. Been watching plenty of your editing videos. The Three Wolf story was cool. Yeah, man, I'm glad. I really enjoyed the Three Wolf story. I like how old and like set in their ways all the characters in it are. Everybody down to, there's not one young person in that whole story. Yeah, hell yeah. Yeah, much appreciated. And it's keeping us running. You should see the crazy studio that I'm trying to set up here. The problem is I bought so much gear for LRH that like it doesn't all fit in my headspace, so I'm like constantly disassembling it and hooking it back together. I have like gear acquisition syndrome. And, and then when we actually do LRH, it's just me and a mic. That's it. We don't use any of the fancy shit that I have put together. But I remain convinced that I will eventually clean up my room and make my bed and do like a good show. But hell yeah, yeah, I like that LRH. I'm always gonna keep it like that Friday night thing, even when it's well past the hell yeah. I will indeed die for it. I've been on IRC for so long. I'm never gonna quit. I always like those people. It's always just been like a positive force in my life. Those are some of my favorite people. So this story, I don't know if you've seen this one before. We did like a whole edit of I think the first two books of Rapasaurus, and I'm working on the rewrite of the third. Um, and realizing that we're gonna do like a little bit more rewrite of books 1 and 2, not full on editing and rewriting, but we're gonna take another pass at a lot of those chapters. Um, but book 3, we're doing like a major structural rewrite. Books 4 and 5 also, just structurally, they're very weak. Like the story, like so many fantasy stories, they start off really strong, right? Somebody has a good premise. They do like a good setup. They have some characters where you're invested in them and like interested in it. Below is the one that I read recently, right? And they get into the bulk of the action, which is where they're in the fantastical situation that they're in, and the author just hasn't like put the time in. You know, they wanted to finish the book. They just have like a pat conclusion or whatever. It's just they ran out of mana, and I've seen this in so many different books, and I'm definitely guilty of it myself in Rapasaurus there. So I don't want to run out of mana, and that's why I've just been working on this book for like 10 years, shaping it up, waiting until I have more juice, and then putting it into the book, waiting until I become like a better writer and adding it in there. I did that also to Lemon Maybe. Lemon Maybe is just stellar now. It's a really good book. I can't believe I can't sell the fucker. But I don't know. Hope springs eternal. I might just serialize everything on Kindle Vella or something. 'Cause, literally, I'm sitting on 2 completed giant novels, 1 novella that's completed, and so forth. And I keep sending them out to agents, and agents being like, you know what? No, what? You know, like I'm not touching this guy and his radioactive material. Which is just every author has the exact same experience. It really is disheartening to spend so much of your life on shit, and then other people are like, that's not for me. But if you think about it, like how many books do you pass on a shelf before you pick out the one that's for you, right? I might pass by 2 or 3 thousand books in a bookstore, and there's only going to be one specific one that's going to appeal to me at like a very specific time. It's not like a song. I have limited experience when it comes to writing. Not a native English speaker, um, and so I can't help much. But I know that sometimes the first draft is just the best. Ooh, that is not my experience in my life. I will tell you that like a first draft has something like raw and untamed about it. Um, that's interesting for certain types of stuff. Like just like your first take of a song, there's something there that gets like whittled away in later takes and so forth. But that's a young man's game. It really is for people who are like in their 20s or whatever, where they can just hammer something out, and it's just so different and so new, and like has so much of their personality that it, like Jack Kerouac type stuff. But if you go back and read On the Road, you're like, this is a piece of shit. You know, I don't care about Jack Kerouac and this other guy like getting in an argument over stopping their stream of piss at a urinal. Nietzsche wrote everything just once, and that's it, right? And just sit down and try to read through Thus Spake Zarathustra or whatever it is. It's a slog, and like people have to struggle to get to the ideas. And I'm writing conceivably like mass market fiction here, so I need the path to be smoother. People are not going to put effort in to understand what I'm doing. They need to come to the table and just be like, okay, somebody has set the table here. The kitchen smells good. Like there are no hobos milling around in the dining room. I don't smell any urine at all. All right, I might sit down at this table and like wait to see what they bring me. And like read through the menu and like All right, yeah, I'll order that with something. Um, I don't really have a good work ethic, is what I'm finding on the stream. I have a half-assed work ethic, but I do this every day out of compulsion. Anyhow, um, let's get into it. So I'm going to be mainly working on trying to write the second half of this chapter about Hadriate and Revel in Vadopolis and the Rift of Divisivus. So to give you an idea of who these characters are for anybody tuning in at some point in the far distant future when mankind is but a memory and sentient cockroaches rule over an irradiated wasteland, which is the next book. So I should just write that book. That sounds way more interesting than this at the moment. Revel V. Ramos is our initial character in the story. He is the son of the Duke of Laz. However, he has renounced his name in a disagreement with his father over a war that's going on down in Terhajatan. And he has gotten looped into this whole thing because he is fucking the daughter of an archmage who basically her father's orb gets stolen, and that's how this whole tangled mess begins. So Revel V. Ramos is there at the scene of the theft. He is a generally well-meaning but arrogant and spoiled noble guy who has combat training. He's like, I guess you would consider him kind of a knight of sorts. He initially came to the Rapasaurus with a full suit of armor and a fancy sword, and he was ready to do battle. But he was knocked into a river and almost drowned, but for the intercession of El-Shalah, his paramour, and was led astray and duped. And finally, he found himself without any armor, caught in a black lagoon and captured by Nylacombe, which is basically like a big kraken. And Nylacombe offered him a deal he couldn't refuse, become Nylacombe's minion or be devoured. So he took the deal but double-crossed Nylacombe. His own eyes were boiled out of his skull and replaced with the ringed eyes of a Seether, which is the demon-like race that is imprisoned within the Rapasaurus, which is a grand interdimensional jail. Man, this sounds so crazy as I'm saying all this stuff. Just so many like fantasy tropes like crammed into here that I'm expecting a reader to just know and understand. So anyhow, he has been wandering through the Rapasaurus trying to find El-Shalah, trying to find a way to undo the devil vision that he's been cursed with. So the Seether vision that he is there is supposed to, it's described as unraveling all deception and gazing at the naked underpinnings of reality itself. Because the Seether, in the context of the story, are beings of almost entirely metaphor and energy. They're transformative, they're sinister, and they love cracking deals with people. So Hadriate is kind of a Seether who is like kind of a Babylonian fertility goddess type figure. She gains power by convincing people to worship her, kind of like a succubus thing, kind of going along, and she just feeds on their adulation and energy and keeps it for herself. And when she's sprung from her prison by Revel, she finds that the whole time that she has been busily appearing in, I don't know, pieces of toaster strudel and getting gulling like villagers to worship her all over the Ark, all that power and energy that she has been feeding on was actually feeding into Vadabo, the master of this dungeon. He tricked her, and she basically was acting as a minor god for centuries, and he was just funneling all that energy into himself. And as soon as she was sprung from her prison, she lost like 90% of herself. So in this chapter, the two of them have actually, this sounded pretty cool in my description of it there. Like as I'm talking up the whole story thus far, all that sounds dope to me. Like I like all this crazy shit that's happening here. All right. It's kind of wild at the end of the day. All right, so in this grand fantasy narrative, see, it's because I'm so used to it. Like it just seems mundane to me. It's like, oh, the guy's in the interdimensional dungeon, but now as I'm thinking of it, like, no, I can get with this, right? So what's happening now is that they are free from the prison and stumbling around the Rapasaurus, and they find that all the ways have been changed, which every character who used to know the way in the Rapasaurus no longer knows the way because the portals have all shifted. And so everybody is essentially lost within this. Nobody is 100% sure of where they stand, which I love. And then, so they have encountered Vidopolis, and later we'll probably encounter an entity called Divisivus. And so most of the names of the Seether are. Please tell me that I can. Yes, I can cancel Do Not Disturb. There, I'm gonna set my D&D to like 9 o'clock, so it doesn't pop up on stream every single time. Anyhow, yeah, we just had an issue like a little bit ago where I couldn't cancel it. Anyhow, let's see. So yeah, just Latin roots for most of the names. The Rapasaurus itself means like a place of hungry mouths or something like that. I think place of slavering jaws, or it's not real Latin, but it's getting in there. I think it begins from rapacious. All right, let me get to work. So I don't talk a lot to the stream while I'm trying to rewrite sections. It's not like editing where I can just read every line and so forth. So yeah, I'll just glance over at the chat every once in a while if you have some point or something. I can usually see out of the corner of my eye that something's happening, and it's just you can observe my struggle to make this book better. A couple hours every day at a time, and after a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, whatever, eventually I will have a banging fantasy novel, and then I can do it all again with some other book. Hopefully a shorter book next. It's just too long. All right, what do we got there? Mm-hmm. Oh, what's up, Captain Ron? Yeah, we're just chilling, working on the dead old Rapasaurus rewrite right there. Um, just to ease my mind, right? So I'm all on board for your game plan tonight. I just want to make sure that nothing painful or illegal or harmful or nothing that's going to change the gender identity of these people is going to occur to them at the top of that park, right? I have no idea what you have planned. I just want to make sure that these people will be all right before I get involved because I am not about doing anybody any kind of permanent psychic harm. You know what I mean? So just please, if you are planning to do something totally insane, warn me so that I can say no. Because I'm just trusting that only goofy shit is going to happen. That's my motto. You know, do no harm, goofy shit only. But if not, yeah, just holler at me on IRC if you have something sinister planned, and we'll try to do it in a way where nobody gets hurt. Fuck, that sounds so alarming for the scope of what we're doing, which is just like juvenile pranks, right? But it's always important to just make sure that shit doesn't get out of hand. I've had shit get out of hand before. I don't like it. Okay, thank you. Yeah, that's a good way to put the distinction. There is a difference between rune and laws, and I try to ally myself with people who can understand that distinction. Because yeah, I just am not a sadist in that way. You know what I mean? I don't derive any pleasure from seeing people be miserable. I do like it when they're angry for no reason, but yeah, I just don't want people to suffer unnecessarily. It really sounds up where like we're it sounds like we're into some school shooting type shit, but it is like so many levels of magnitude lower than that. It's just we do crazy pranks on Friday nights and have for lo these many years. But I've gotten old and soft and um, don't want to break the law if I can help it. Hmm. Oh, I was gonna say ratcheting up, but I don't know if ratchets even exist in this world. Let's find out when the ratchet was invented. 1863. J.J. Richardson was the inventor of the first ratcheting wrench for use with interchangeable sockets. Okay, so it would not make any sense to. Uh, some claim that Robert Owen invented the wrench in 1913, a number of years after Richardson. Let's take a look at the history of sockets. Oh, that's kind of interesting. Huh. All right, well, the more you know. And that guy later was J. Joanna Jameson's grandfather. Believe it or not, I don't believe it. Oh yeah, yeah. That's Yeah, we want to say something like that, but we want to say it in a way that is not like so X-Men. Yeah, I'm thinking of like a drum head or a string that where it is just tightened too much. Mm-hmm. All right, there we go. Yeah, too much. Revel could smell too. Soon after Revel could smell too. All right, there we go. I like that a little better. Mm, let me see. Okay, cool. Yeah, I like that. Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. I'm changing. Oh yeah. Let's take that out of there. Okay, cool. I like that we're like a little more alluding to the fact that both of these people are going down into this pit. Cool. All right. Yeah, I thought I would have to like write the whole city chapter there, but no. This actually works out good here. So 551 to 929. 551 to 554. Cool. So I like this okay as like a 4 page thing. And then we can shift our focus to something else. New login from Chrome Desktop. Oh, that's me. And then Sweetwater keeps bothering me. All right, that's not too bad. So what I'm gonna do also All right, so now we've done this. Let's go back through the other chapters. Now that I know the direction that I'm going to go, because I think the next chapter is getting cut entirely. Um, let's see. So I want to make Hadriate less of like a horrific being and more something that Revel finds desirable, um, because he is going to break some oaths to be with Hadriate, and he needs to make some kind of a choice. Let me see. All right, so let's go back to. Let's see where Hadriate first pops up. All right, there we go. So this is the chapter where Hadriate first appears in 219. All the way back in page 348. So like almost 200 pages have elapsed there. And really, when we say pages, we need to cut that in half. So it's like, in terms of like an actual print book, this would be about 100 pages later. Because like Rapasaurus, it says 929 pages, but really Rapasaurus is typeset, because we're double spacing here. So we need to keep in mind that what we're really talking about is like a 500-page book. Um, so I mean, I could write it in. I wonder if it's. I don't. I think since it's going to be edited, I'll just do it on double space. It's not worth doing all the formatting. Just have to go back. All right. So where does he first meet her? Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah. How do I work? does this happen? Oh man, all of this is so cliche. Oh, it was hard to say this. I mean, this is like um, romance writing 101. But yeah, a lot of this has been hammered into the dirt. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Da, da, da. Here's a great spot for the word ejaculated. Blubber is what I want, but it's too much. I don't want blurt because jabber's not quite right either, but it's closer. Chugalug. That's a good word. uh, ooh, insatiable depths. Oh my god. Oh. I don't think that Rebel. Oh, okay, cool. So I already did some of the work that I needed to do to bring these two together. All right, cool. And then let's find the next. Okay, and then they cut the deal. Okay, and then she's already doing that. Cool. All right, I like it. I like it a lot. Let's find. Let's go here and then search for more Hadriates. Okay, and then 3-5. 3-5 is where I would go back and mhm. Okay. So she's like essentially a tool for them. He's like because he's like cursed with this sight, he becomes a tool for understanding like the mechanics of how the Seether works and their different things. Okay, so a lot of data he's being provided to people via that. So I'm good there. And then we want to rewrite that whole chapter. All right, so I think unfortunately that's all the creative writing that I probably have in me this morning, but I can easily go back and work on. All right, so we're going to rename this chart actually. This is let's rename. Master rewrite chat. All right. Okay, so I'm gonna. I wish I had a second monitor for this guy. This would save me a lot of time. I do have a second monitor that I could hook in. Oh, but I'm using one of my. Well, is it worth having two monitors on this fucker? I could actually just use a second computer over here if I could type on it. Uh, it's worth pondering, but it's something that I'll think of ergonomically later. For now, I can just Command Tab or Control Tab between these guys. All right, so I'm gonna merge those two chapters. I'm gonna, please into the night. That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. Uh, okay, so let's go all the way back. Snap back to reality. All right, there we go. So we got 1-1. I don't think I'm rewriting much of book one. Oh, what is up with D Hero Zai Plays? What is going on with that nickname? Oh, I hope it's not that Hyro protagonist from Snow Crash, which is like the dumbest character name that I've ever seen in my life. Yeah, what's up? So we are rewriting a giant fantasy novel that is pretty good in the first half, not so good in the second half. Um, and I've been working on this for these many weeks. What do we got here? Can you please read a part of my novella I am writing and give me feedback? I have only wrote 2 or 3 pages. Okay, link it in the chat, and I will take a look at it now. It is a terrible thing that you are asking me to do, because I am a brutal, like I'm a devil at this. But I will take a look at it if you dare. But be forewarned. I wouldn't do this shit, but I'm happy to take a gander. Link it. Let's see this. All right, what do we got here? Okay. 1.3. I forgot what it's like to be like young, where like anybody's feedback is valuable because nobody gives you feedback. I remember that. You're like writing like a little thing, docs.google.com/document. Okay, let's copy link address. Let's open this in a proxy. Oh yeah. Oh, I'm careful. Actually, let's take this machine off of my network. All right. So let's get this on a VPN. Let's see. Yes, I am using a proxy to access your Google Drive link. Hold on. I'm not even doing that. Let me go into a virtual machine. All right, so I see. Let's see. Problem, lures, du chargement, resources, de application. All right, hold on. This proxy is bullshit. Let's use US 10. Problem, lures, de chargement. Oh, so is this a... Were you trying to steal my credentials? Oh, it's this... There's an issue with loading issues through this proxy here. All right. Let me see here if this is an attempt to like exploit my whole thing, or if it's just I have a shitty proxy. Oh, now I'm interested here. Let me see. Let's try this proxy. Okay. Blue skies falling at me. USP equals sharing, because it's a Google Doc right here. So it shouldn't. All right, so here we go. This error has been reported to Google. Please reload this page to continue. Cool. Unable to load file. Load it again or send an error report. All right. All right. Here we go. All right. So I can see chapter 1 of this by. Yeah, there's some just error. And it's probably on my end because it's like a chain of 4 proxies to get to this. I don't want you to have my IP address, essentially. So this is The Land Beyond by Deroxy Plays. Copyright by Deroxy Plays. Okay. So you do not need to place a copyright on something when it's a draft. Just putting it out there. Copyrights are only necessary for print. All over the world, there is an assumed copyright for material that you're writing. So you don't have to do it. Chapter 1, The Beginning. A tale through lands, a boy so mysterious, who he is shall be found. What are you trying to do with that? A boy woke up in the middle of a forest, ellipses. He had no memories of his past life, who his parents were, where he came from, or why he was left in this forest. But, no comma on but there, he had a phone which was dead, food, water, and a map. The map had some letters in some strange language that couldn't be comprehended from even the smartest person in the world. Did you type that? Ooh. Also, I should ask, how many years old are you? I am guessing that you are between 12 and 17. I'm going to say from reading this that you are 16. Hold on. Let me just make sure that, let's see. It's just a doc, bro, LMAO. A lot of security for one doc. Oh, yeah. I'm not fucking around. You can do like a little bit of stuff. Wait, did I guess right? You are 14. Okay. So I'm just setting my expectations here because when somebody's 14, I don't expect them to have learned a lot of this stuff here. The map had letters in some strange language that can't be comprehended from even the smartest person in the world. He spent hours staring at the map trying to figure out how to read this strange language, but came to an end with a fail. He then noticed a note before, "What you shall seek has been given." He felt a surge of power. The leaves moved faster and faster. Lightning struck and rain started. He never had this feeling before. Not that he remembers if he did. The world suddenly turned into nothing. It was just stars and black. He suddenly felt sleepy and sick, for he knows the future and the land beyond. Okay. So this is a good start to the idea of a chosen one narrative where you're going to write a young man who has tremendous power and maybe he has some mysterious stuff happening here. Okay, so there's quite a bit of feedback that I can give you here on this story. First, I would say you do not need a poem at the start of your book because you are not a poet. Leave poetry to the poets. If you want something fancy at the start of the book, you could do something like an epigraph, which is a quote from another writer. That kind of gives the feel for what you're trying to get at. But when you are starting off, I would not even bother with that, right? You are going to be writing primarily for an audience of your friends and stuff who are your age, and you don't need to have like any pretense at the beginning of your thing. You can just launch into the story. Additionally, I would not put the date 3015 at the start of your story. Let that be revealed through the story there. I will tell you that it is a huge cliche to have your character just wake up from unconsciousness and then find something. A lot of magazines will specifically tell you like we don't want any stories where a boy like finds a magic sword in a forest, or somebody wakes up and discovers something and so forth, because it is a very common way for people who are new at writing to start stories. So just keep that in mind. Doesn't mean you can't start a story that way. In fact, when you're young, you can do whatever you like with stories, because this, for the most part, for like the next, if you want to be a writer, for the next 5 to 10 years, you're primarily going to be writing for an audience of yourself and like whoever your friends are. So you can do whatever you want, and any feedback that I give you, just keep in mind that like ultimately it's up to you to tell the story the way that you want to. So your language is very awkward here. I would suggest reading a lot more. I know that you're probably like a big reader already, but you want to do more reading and paying attention to the way that writers reveal things throughout the line. When you're writing, like this is the oldest adage in writing, like show, don't tell. But writing is kind of like a magic trick where you want the reader to start guessing, like, oh, where's he going with this, right? So you start off, almost every line, every paragraph or whatever, you start off, and it's almost like kind of telling a joke, like, hey, where are we going to go with this? You want the reader to start wondering, and then you want to fill in the gap, and then it's just like a punchline where it's like, oh, I think he's going this place. It's like, no, he's actually here. You want to have that sense of revelation of what's going on, and you don't have it right now. So like reading through your lines is like a chore. Initially, like as a reader, I'm coming through with like, okay, like what's the story about? Like I'm like somebody in a dark room, like groping around. Like, all right, what's this about? Okay, it's about the golden child who has the lightning power, right? Slowly groping towards that thing. So you want to reveal towards it. You want to avoid cliche wherever you can. And you definitely want to avoid things like some strange language that can't be comprehended by even the smartest person in the world. So let's look at that. You might think about, well, what is strange about this language? Like, is it like Neo Tefing, where it's got those weird predator armband looking letters and so forth? Here's a spot where, like saying something like some strange language that can't be comprehended even from the smartest person in the world. This sounds, Nigerians write that way a lot. Like Nigerians and West Africans write that way a lot. But it is, it's not a good way to write. Instead of that, it'd be cool if you like went into specifics and said, like, hey, this is what's going on there, or just gave me something that I could, maybe it's strange because the letters are literally like leaping off of the page and poking him, or just something to let us know why this is strange. It is like a dodge to say it couldn't be understood by even the smartest person in the world. That's just you not putting in the effort to come up with whatever. And then he feels a surge of power, which is, yeah. Okay, so yeah, all this is a good start. What I would recommend is my favorite book that is in this style of narrative. It's a great book too, and a great book to read at your age, is Star Maker by Olaf Stapledon, right? He, to me, so Olaf Stapledon was a communist and an ambulance driver at the time of World War I. He wrote a book about a man who just walked out into a field and imagined everything else that's going to happen in the universe for the rest of all time. And it is absurdly good. It's a difficult read, but the scope of his ideas is tremendous. He really accomplishes so much in that book. Fascinating guy, by the way. He continued to fight for worker rights and stuff like that for his entire life. So if you want to write a like hop into a field narrative, check out Star Maker by Olaf Stapledon. But yeah, you're just very young, and you're gonna take a long time writing. I would get involved in like a writing group if I were you, and try and work on it. So also don't as you're writing when you're younger, don't like tell yourself you're gonna write a novella, or tell yourself you're gonna write a novel or whatever. Just start writing the thing and let it be as long as it needs to be, right? A lot of the time, like the length of the thing that you have to do is only like 5,000 words, right? It's a short story. It might be a piece of flash fiction that's just a page or two long. Don't set out for a project before you know how to do the project. And in general, you'll want to write shorter stories when you're young. But yeah, it's not too bad. It's like there's some potential there for his narrative. All right, now to get out of critique mode. Well, I guess I'm just editing at this point there. So I can't tell whether I scared him off or not with the aggressive feed. It's not super aggressive, but yeah, he's got a long way to go. But the road is worthwhile the entire time that you're on it. It will always be fun and like a good thing to do. Let me see there. I bet. Actually, hold on. Let me see. Did I close the tab already? No, there's no need to savage a kid who's like 14. Like shit, I was writing. I can go back. I have upstairs a whole chest full of the stuff that I was writing when I was 14. I should just bring it down and do a stream where I just go through and critique some of my old shit because it was atrocious. Really, really, truly bad. I was like writing songs and stuff when I was in high school. Oh, they're gonna be so rough. I think floating around on IRC somewhere there is a some Vice type article that I wrote, and it was just so insufferable and pretentious. And I think Random D from Teens for Christ read it once, and I couldn't understand at the time that I was being unintentionally hilarious, but oh, he just fucking tore into it. And I think people taunted me with it for a number of years afterward, but I didn't care. I was like, at the time, like 17 years old. I'd been expelled from high school. I was like wandering around, hitchhiking across the country, like nobody could tell me fucking anything. He says, "Okay, I changed it. Thanks for the feedback." Oh no. I hope I didn't break his whole novel. At least he set his mind on a novella and not like a trilogy. Like some of the young writers that we talked to, they're like, "Okay, so the first book of my trilogy is going to be like this," and it's just too much. You know what I mean? I did the same shit. I think first book I was trying to write was like a trilogy, and I wrote 2.5 books of the trilogy, and they fucking suck. They suck so hard. All right, anyhow. So chapter 1.4 is Rebel and L. Oh, it's Rebels. It's Rebels POV rather than El Shalah's POV. Okay, so 1.4. Okay, and we've done a lot of work on the Rebel character there, so it's good that we're gonna develop him here. And then this is short. I think it's just like 3 or 4 pages. So 22. And I'm just saying it so I can remember the number at the end of this through 25. So it's just 3 pages. It's not too bad. Da, 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 da. So yeah, I think I'm gonna make that my protocol for anybody that's like, hey, look at my thing or whatever. One, I'm gonna go through a proxy. I've seen some weirdness too with Google Docs recently and like going through proxies and stuff like that. There's some cookie thing that they're requiring you to do there. And I don't know if it's like an anti-piracy thing or whatever, but I can only render like the first page of his document, which might be for the best. And then it was like popping up some cookie error, and I had to read it through the error. It was like trying to forcibly close the thing. Likely, I should have just gone through. If that's happening to you, you can go through a browser that isn't Chrome. I went through Edge, which is still like Chrome basically, and it was able to get through the other error that I was seeing. But yeah, I'm seeing a little bit more of that in like incognito tabs and something like that. Google really wants to keep tabs on what you're doing. But I think in the future, if people are like, "Hey, would you take a look at my thing?" or whatever, first I'm going to ask like, "How old are you?" Right? So I don't start giving a child the feedback for an adult. Anything that anybody that's under 25, I'm going to try to be nicer to because they're probably just starting out for the most part. But if you're older than 25, I'm just going to let you fucking have it. I think that's fair, right? Like, I don't need to be, I don't need to lie to somebody who's an adult because I don't think that people are adults until they're 25 unless they've had children, and then that changes the dynamic some just because it really changes up everything in your life, I guess. So, all right, I'm with it. So, yeah, that'll be the protocol when people are axing me to look. Why would they ask me either? I'm just some dude on a screen. But if they are going to ax and I am going to gander, I'm going to ask how old they are first because I could see myself like revving up to just be like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And he's too young, you know. Um, the whole reason I like writing today is because when I was like 14, writing like weird sex shit, and like turning it in as English assignments, like my teacher wasn't like, "What are you fucking doing, kid?" They were like very like, "Oh yeah, you should keep doing that. You know, you got talent for this, etc." You know, lying to me. Um, but those lies like turned into a lot of potential. Like all the joy in my life comes out of writing and women. So and weird synthesizers and video games. That's like and my radio show. Those are like the five pillars of me. And writing is like definitely the biggest one of those joys by far, and the least successful of any of the other endeavors. But you know, if somebody had just said to me when I was like 14, like, "Yeah, you fucking suck, quit," I might have quit. No, I probably would have kept doing this shit. But anyhow, 1.5. I'm good on that kid for like putting their shit out there and like oh, I want to get better at writing, but how? I'll go to Twitch at 1 in the morning or whatever. Let's see. Tab. All right, so 1.5 is a Rigel chapter, and it's a long one as I recall. 25 through. All right, so it's 25 through. It's about a 9 pager. 33. 8 pages. 8. Oh, and I have to change the name of the character. I should just start thinking about. I just had Rigel and Revel for so long, but they're too close. Um, they're too close, and I guess I'll probably take out Rigel because Rigel is like a star in the actual world. So I like Revel v Ramos a little bit better. Okay, so okay. Okay. Let's see. So 1.6. Control tab. I like the kid was like, dude, it's just a duck or whatever, as if you can't do fucking terrible things to somebody with like an iframe and a Google Doc if you really set your mind to it. You can get in there. Okay, so here's where we have our El Shalah POV chapter. So 34 through. Okay, and here's where she makes the offer that they can't refuse. And Revel just stabs this guy for no reason. No, there's a reason. It's a long chapter. Oh, wait, no. Oh, I might have to split this up a little bit. Oh, I think it was originally 2 chapters and I merged them like a dumbass. 47 through 34. I think it's a 13-page chapter. It's a 13-page chapter. How dare I? How dare I? All right. Okay, so this is, yeah, 13. I mean, it's not terrible to have a double chapter here, because all right, so here, if we have that POV there, all right, so okay, I might potentially break that chapter up into 2 different parts because it's like we look at our other 5, 3, 8, 3, 8. Yeah, okay, so part of the issue here is that we're doing long, short, long, short, long, short. Well, not quite there. But we do like a lot of info dumping in that chapter right there. So he probably doesn't know and hasn't heard the stories about what happens to people. Oh yeah, he's like through bitter experience of getting DDoS and whatever. There again, and he's like a kid. He's not like security minded or whatever. My main thing is like while I'm streaming, I just don't ever want to get DDoSed. I don't think that there's anything useful on the machine that I'm a person who have had like $40,000 in shitcoins stolen from me because I was lax with computer security. So that'll tighten you up a little bit. Oh, mine shitcoins. I could have a van right now. I could be traveling around the country doing my show, but I fucked it up. The end. Um, maybe I'll get that van yet. All right, so I like 1.6, how that works out. It's a good chapter. It probably needs to be broken up a little bit. There's a lot of info dumping. And then 1.7. Oh, this is my favorite part of the book actually. 1.7, and I think it is a Rigel. Yeah, it's a Rigel POV. Oh, it's just a shorty. Yeah, 1, 2, 3 pages. All right, so it's 4 pages. 48 to 51 is. Yeah, like, my favorite part of the book is like just their race up the river and how it's like a big camp out and there's like a lot of woodscraft and um, it's just a chapter about fishing and Fish trying to impart some of his wisdom. So okay, yeah, that one's cool. No, I don't need. 1.8 is gonna be. Cool. And that's where we start to see some of like the uncommon grit of the Rigel character. Um, Maybe I'll name him Liger or something like that. I don't know. All right, so we show Yellow Hat 52. Okay. Okay, so we show Revel showing some value. So this is an 8-page chapter. So we have a lot of big reveals in this chapter. 8 pages, El Shala. And then this is a Rigel chapter. It's not a Fish chapter. We don't get into Fish POV until he's actually in the dungeon, I think. Okay, so we show that Fish is backed by like a supernatural force. We show that there's tension between Revel, Hat, and Stirs because Revel is like a rich guy. They are criminals, and they aren't too keen on how fucking snooty Revel is. Okay, and so this is something that, as I'm thinking about it, we like backtrack a little bit on Revel being brave, right? And that is supposed to be one of his attributes. He is not afraid to put himself in danger to assist others. Like he is arrogant, but also brave, and in some ways self-sacrificing. So we need to make sure that he is not a coward. Okay. So in that chapter, we start to show Stirs coming to life once he's removed from. So these two guys are Stirs is just like a hood rat essentially throughout this whole thing. He's lived in the ghetto of Laz. He's never left for his entire life. He is like a leg breaker and just like a tough, and he just goes around beating people, dealing with gangs, and drinking. And this is his life, right? He's very focused into his thing. So he's really meant to be kind of like a fish out of water in this dungeon type thing there. So okay, cool. Uh, bu- 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 okay, and so El Shala is like a level 2 magician in this whole thing. So um, I don't know that we're like really going to quantify the characters because this is a genre called lit RPG that I want to stay far the fuck away from. Um, where it's basically like people who like their entire childhood was just playing RPG games on a computer, and so when they write novels, they write them like with characters like actually leveling up and shit, and like and like having spell slots and all the they've just have like really shaded the between game and whatever, and it's just ugh. It creeps me out so much. Um, yeah. To be fair, I've not read anything in this genre, so I might be misrepresenting it. But from what I've seen from the outside, I don't want to look any deeper. It's kind of closed-minded of me, but I'm willing to stay closed-minded. All right, so oh yeah, okay, so we do get into a fish POV chapter 61. Is this where he fights the boar? Oh yeah, he fights the boar. 61 through so we're meant to so 61 through 71. So about 10 pages. And it's like my favorite section of the book, so I can give it to it. So the first fish POV chapter, and we start to see I really just should have just written the entire story, as they never find a dungeon and they just keep chasing each other up the river, because it's my favorite part. It's not a good sign that my favorite part of my dungeon delving story is about a fishing trip. Should have just written the fucking fishing trip. So 110, it's going to be our first Yellow Hat POV, and then is his victory over Revel. Let's see. So it is a 7-pager. Okay, cool. So that chapter is good. Cool. 1.11. Da, 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 da. After I do this, though, I will have no more excuses to like just flame out on chapters the way that we've been doing. I have to actually write. Oh, and then here we try to introduce the Stirs POV. So Stirs POV is weak in this, as I recall. 80 to... Oh, yeah, he just gets 2 pages to... Yeah. Okay, and I think the chapters involving him, a lot of the chapters that involve Stirs are going to be ones where they originally they were written with like no POV, or just like a weak POV, or somebody else's POV entirely, and I'm just like, oh, let me just slap Stirs in there, right? I feel like Stirs has the weakest voice out of all these POVs, because he should just be stubborn and superstitious and ignorant. Okay. So I don't want him to turn into that like I'm not here to make friends character, which is insufferable. Um, yeah, I feel like that guy is in every fucking team movie and Predator and like nonsense, where they're just fodder and just like a clumsy way to get across like, oh, I hate individuals. Um, you know, objectivism is wrong. I mean, it is wrong, but all right, here we go. And it's too short. Okay, cool. I do like that we introduce these characters later, but all right, so let's take a look at 113. What? Do we have our fucking numbers wrong? 1 point 1.11, 1.12. Yeah, somewhere I doubled the number. I fucked up. 1.10? No, I just 1.10 is yellow hat. Oh, I fucked up here. I'm more and more on these streams. I'm just reinforcing that I can't fucking count. is bad. I don't think I've ever had a book where I've gotten like all the chapter numbers right. Um, all right, so there's a thunderstorm, Rigel. Okay, so we're showing some of the plot. Oh, okay, cool. We lose that later on. Okay. Okay. Oh, and then I didn't count. Okay, so this is a Rigel. Okay, and this is a chapter that was just part of their rewrite. I like that they mirror We Should Land. So that's 90 to. All right. This is a 7 pager, which is ideal. All right. And then let's take a look at 113. Okay. And this is a Stirs POV chapter 91. Oh, why is this a split chapter? No, 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 no. Oh, so Stirs just gets 2 pages. Um, Oh, why do we cut? Oh, we don't do that elsewhere in the story. All right, so this is a problemo. Yeah. All right, so 113. What the fuck did I just do? Oh, probably my cursor was up. No, cursor wasn't up there. Around page 90 or so. Oof. So immediately, I don't want to fucking. It's like a split chapter because there's a storm going on. So 91 through. This is where we started to run into trouble in the neighborhood. 91 through 96. So this is only a 5-page chapter. Let's see. Yeah, it's kind of a fuck up there. What am I doing? Right, so what am I trying to do? And then what am I actually doing here? Okay, so here. All right, so goals are. Okay. Do we need the revel part? Sky's on fire. Oh, I like that. Okay, so all right, that is good. I like the way that they're kind of blasé at that point. The two of them, where okay, all right. So it should just be clear that so the Rigel character, he's young, he's a boy, and so forth, but he has seen some shit. Um, there we go. All right, he's like a precocious hoodlum. Okay, cool. I just want to. Yeah, we're writing him like a little too adult in some places. We just have to remember at some points this is a boy, so his boyishness should shine through in like the places where it's allotted, and it should also be like a note of sadness that his childhood was like ripped away from him. Yeah. Okay, cool. Because I think most people, when their children can be, they're modern people anyhow, they're cognizant of the loss of their childhood as it's going on. Like it's definitely a state that they realize that this is being lost and they miss it even as it's evaporating from them. Because at the time I think, I don't know if this is the case throughout history, but definitely through people who grew up in like the generation that I have, like they were aware of the childish state as something that was fleeting, that was valuable, that would be missed when it was gone, and they could feel it evaporating around them as they got older. At the same time, like feeling like a desire towards more maturity, more power, and so forth. There, so there's like an interesting concept that we don't really touch on in the story, and I think it's worth visiting. Okay, 1.14. All right, and let me see what other work we do there. Everything tasted of mud. Let's see. Okay, so okay, so we do also show them losing the bulk of their supplies on this situation, um, which is not touched on enough. Okay, so Yellow Hat. Yeah, this is our Princess Bride rhyming ripoff. Oh, how long is this also? This shows them closing in. So drama is developing 97 through. Okay, through 101. So only about 4 pages. Oh yeah, yeah. Yellow Hat has some good lines throughout this year. His POV needs to be developed also. Like I think a lot of these chapters are going to be rewritten to just have like a stronger POV, and a lot of it's going to consist of taking out things that that character wouldn't say. Da, da, da. Let's see. Okay, cool. Yeah. So there is a narrative imperative that at some point, because of the buildup in the previous chapters and the way that the story starts, you have to see the showdown between Fish and Revel at some point. Right? It's just unavoidable the way that we've written it. Like reading through it here, I can see that like it's a desire for the reader, just because I want to see like what's going to happen when the two of these guys actually fight when they're both like crazy powered up towards the end of the story. So Okay, so we do it later when the two of them are at a different power dynamic. Oh, okay, cool. Okay, cool. These are these are good and useful notes to how we're gonna develop the. Because what we're really doing here, as we're going through chapter by chapter and like putting in these rewrite notes, is we're fishing for things like at some point, Rebel is fistfights Mondays at 10, only on LRH TV. So I'm fishing for motivations that I introduced earlier in the story and then abandoned or didn't fully realize, right? And I'm looking for spots of dramatic tension that I can ratchet up and then resolve later on that I've forgotten about, just because it's like this thing that I've been writing over years and years and years. And I'm finding them here. Um, in the initial draft, like the yellow hat being addicted to Kane or whatever is like a real thing, and he's seizing up constantly and going through all stuff, and I just it's not a great story point to just have like a heroin addict going through withdrawal throughout the entire story. It just makes him so useless. And I think like a lot of my own experiences with junkies are shading the new way that I'm writing this story, where I'm just sick of junkies and I don't want to write about them. So I'm going to try to hand wave away some of the seriousness of his addiction. Maybe just make it more like a crack addiction instead of a heroin addiction. Where, like, if they're kept away from crack long enough, they're still fiends, but it's not like they don't cease to function. They just get more cracky. So we can just change up the scope of the addiction. Like we'd set it up as like, ooh, some perilous addiction where you're certainly going to die and so forth. And it gets into kind of like the, I don't know what the fuck happened with this in the, and don't tell me because I'm waiting for George R. R. Martin to finish the book. But when you give a character like something degenerative, um, like how Peter Baelish or whatever. Wait, is it or Tyrion Lannister gets like that stone rot disease or whatever in the book, and you're like, ugh, gay. Or in like Dead Redemption, where your guy gets fucking tuberculosis, and you're just like, ugh, I don't want to fucking see the world through the eyes of a lunger. Um, Junkies are interesting people, but only when they're on dope. Otherwise, they're just insufferable. We have like a lot of that in the book, and we have. I do want to maintain some of like Yellow Hat as a dope fiend because like as a character, he's very interesting. In that, he was like a famous bard at one point and traveled all over the world, composing like this book of songs and banging women and so forth. And just eventually, what drives him to this is he starts to get arthritis. Um, and some apothecary is like, "Hey, try this out. It'll take your pain away." And he's like, "Ooh, let me try that." He's like, because his hands are hurting too much to play. Um, so, oh yeah, yeah. So, well, yeah, I mean, they get to peer through the veil. That's the cool thing about drugs is that it lets you see outside of the human experience, right? Your brain is malfunctioning in a way where you can see beyond the constraints of normal reality. And speaking of which, I should do some drugs now that I'm thinking about it. It's been like 5 years since I've done real drugs. Because I'm too, you don't get to write the next day when you do drugs. You're like useless for a week. So I just would rather write most of the time. But also it's kind of important to once in a while like step outside of yourself to put your ego in check. And I think like the good drugs, like mushrooms, etc., vast amounts of acid, they're good for that. I don't fuck around with that heroin, cocaine, and certainly not that methamphetamine, just because of all the chatters that I've seen turn their lives to dog shit. Doing more drugs kills the hangover from. It's just you can't write well when you're on drugs. It just doesn't fucking work. It's like dog shit. Like coffee is the only drug that I want to do when I'm writing. Okay. So a lot of what the Laughing Star is promising here is to like sort of take his pain away and so forth. Yellowhead is a broken character, um, and he is really like vying for a second chance that he doesn't deserve here. So yeah, I want to get more into like the fact that he has this arthritis, um, and show that like his addiction is just a way of him trying to like cope with this pain, and he's just taken a bad route. Um, and kind of like lost himself in the squalor. It's he's an interesting and multifaceted character already in this, but he is also trying to go in too many directions, and he has a little of a Mercutio problem, where he can overshadow some of my other characters that the story is more about. But I'm not gonna fucking kill him off. I want to. It's not. It ain't Romeo and Juliet, so I don't have to worry about the audience liking him too much. Um, because we don't have like that classic plot happening. All right, so let's do. I like these things. Oh, so another piece of work that's happening here is all right. So Arath comes in book 4, and he really is like the biggest piece of Deus Ex Machina in this entire thing. So Nigel going into it's 102. Okay, so we. Oh, this is critical. 102 through 106. Okay, cool. So it's another 4 pager, and this is Rigel POV, and here. Okay, I really should not have made uh, like that double dotted I a part of the story, because like it's a pain in the ass to write it every single time. The Seether, which is just like I just like that Veruca Salt song. So that's all that's really happening there. All right, so that's 1.15. I like that. Okay, I might need a 16. I like that I'm getting more notes for myself as I'm going through this, and I'm just remembering the stuff that I said at the time that we were trying to do it. All right, so El Shalah, track for Fresh Prince, Steel. So there's the junkie trying to get more junk. All who enter are captured forever. Okay, so here we're trying to build up the dread of their Rapasaurus. All right. All right, and then they charge on in. So I think it was 107 that started at. Yeah. 107. So about 5. Okay. 5 pages. I think it's El Shalaz. All right. Are we doing any work there other than what are we doing in this chapter? 400s, trusty hook. That's a great fucking joke there. Oh, cool. They have like warnings on all this stuff. Yeah. Oh shit. Oh, and then we foreshadow. All right, cool. I like that I built in him getting hit over the helmet for drooling at Hadriate. All right. All right, cool. I like where that's going. Okay, so I think this is the long ass chapter where everything. Oh no, it's got to be at least two more. So 113, we show the entry to the Rapasaurus, and we show the first assumed death of Rigel. 113 through. Okay. All right, so we show. Okay, so Revel did hear then and then howl, but we just cut it out of the story rather than figuring it out. So it was 113 through 122. So that is a 9-page chapter, and it is an important one. 117. 9. I should keep like a count of how many times each of the characters is rescued from near certain death. What was I fucking thinking about there? Uh okay. Okay, cool. So she is a jealous woman. All right, blah 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 blah. 123 Revel. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. Okay. Oh, whose POV is this even? I think it's Yellow Hat's POV. Oh yeah, it's definitely. So 123 is Yellow Hat, all the way down to. Okay, and we do a chapter split there. 136. So that's 13 pages. But I think it maintains the Yellow Hat. It maintains the Yellow Hat POV, so that's why we have the section dash rather than breaking into two POVs. Okay, so we. Okay. Yeah, that's the main thing is that I just don't want her like so Revel is another one where we have him like almost die. And he's lost from everybody else. And later in the story, she's just kind of like nonchalant and it's just like, it doesn't matter if this guy's dead. I'll just fuck somebody else. But no bueno. Okay, cool. Yeah, this is why like this thing is critical right here. So this is like a critical plot point that I want to develop later that's not currently in the story right here. And it's a lot like thinking about the resolutions that I want to come to, right? So one of the things that like this, I wrote this at around the same time as I was like writing Xanon Inc. and writing some other stuff there, and that was before I knew how to tie up threads at the end of the story, and I couldn't really like analyze a story. And all right, so let me get into book two, 137. So it's about 130, 100 and whatever. So it's going to be like 75 pages for this first book, which is not terrible in that I think the first book is a good setup to get people to read the subsequent books. And as I'm thinking about doing this as a serialization, that's critical. Like you have to have your first book, which is free, it has to like compel people to want to read more. Um, and then that's when we stick in the IAP, like ooh, like you can have the golden skin for Yellow Hat's hat if you just pay me $8, or some bullshit like that. I'm never gonna do that, by the way. I fucking can't stand that nonsense. Like really, IAP has just destroyed an entire generation of people. Like all that gacha shit, it should be against the law. Like it just takes advantage of a shitty part of people, and it should absolutely be outlawed. Just the same way that slot machines should fucking be outlawed. Anything where you are just gaming like the dopamine system, we need like some kind of regulation until we're evolutionary patched out of that kind of fucking behavior. It's just so bad for people. I say that, but I'm gonna go play video games right after this, but and waste my life on dopamine loops. Anyhow, so we did get some reasonable work done today, even though it was largely me shirking the rewriting. I'm very worried that I am not able to just like write on stream because there are so many distractions and like being on camera is tough to do and so forth. It may be that it would take me like maybe if I put a month in, I can just develop the skill, right? Maybe it's just something where you just have to break on through to the other side. A few things are fucking me up with it. Like one, when I set up the computer to fucking work in the morning, I'm looking at IRC and getting dragged into the detritus of human beings that are on there. Because every time when I wake up, I have messages from fucking retards that do not deserve my attention, but I give them to them anyway because I like toying with them. But at the same time, it's not productive because it puts me in a negative mind space. Like today, I just talked to fucking Astro or something, some other cretin, and I had to like actually get up and like walk around, like play on my conga drums a little bit, bother my neighbors, and then I was like, okay, now that idiot is out of my mind, and I can go back to whatever, right? Or it's some stupid thing, some drama within my thing. It's very poisonous to me to look at IRC, but I also like to let people know, like, hey, I'm doing a stream or whatever. So I need to be stronger in that regard. I might just make a client. It would actually make a lot of fucking sense for me to join up a client that didn't get the messages that my normal account gets, just so I could be like, yo, this is going on there. That's not a bad idea. Another thing that might be good for me to do is to have like a secondary screen here that I can reference as I'm going up. So I might like just fix up this profile so that this can be on pages too. That could be good. Que más? I think that's it. I think maybe I just need to spend the month. I'll tell you what I will do. I will just say for the rest of the month of May, I will try to get to a state of mental power where I can write and rewrite effectively on stream. And if I can't get it by the end of the month, I just need to go back offline when I'm writing. And unfortunately, I just have like this 2 to 3 hour creative period every day, and that's like the only time I've really got to do it. So it's tough. But I also feel like I've gotten some useful work done here. It's just the bulk of what I want to do is rewriting on the story, and I'm not finding the juice to do it, but it may just be that I've just got to power through being a pussy. All right. Well, I hope everybody has a good Friday. We have the show tonight. Hope I see y'all there. If not, it'll be, I think I'm back on YouTube at this point. So hopefully we won't be banned from YouTube when we try to do it. And I have to not say any slurs for like a couple of weeks while YouTube is looking at me like, oh, don't do that, young man. And like be extra vigilant and ban all the people posting swastikas and stuff just because of YouTube. They're dickless. But all right, everybody have a good Friday. Thank you for listening in and joining up, and Godspeed.